I was an alcoholic and drug abuser for some years, and I was diagnosed with major depression. And so I went through crises of suicidal ideations on several occasions, suicidal attempts on several occasions. My life was in a complete turmoil.
My name is Jane. Went through some traumatic things. My parents dying, losing a job, foreclosure on my house. I was scared. Something inside of me just said, you can't go anywhere until you get help.
Crisis services are so important. We meet the need of the individuals when they are sometimes at their lowest point.
A lot of times with our clients, there's no family support there. They have very little financial support. And so when they walk into our facility, they immediately have that support system.
Usually in the past, though, I would say effort, I would go and get messed up. And that's why I finally just quit it and just,
So the people that we help, they're in a crisis. So from our assessment, we determine what level of care that they may need.
They can see a psychiatrist, therapist, peer support services, group therapy, so we can get them stable and back on the road to recovery and just instill hope.
AHS, they took me by the hand and they put me as a priority, and it's just awesome. I mean, they're like my family. Probably the biggest change I've seen is my determination and will to keep going.
I came to AHS for help and getting my life back on track. They talked to me with compassion. They gave me some insight. They gave me some hope. And actually, I got back stable on my medications, and I left the alcohol and drugs alone. And from that day to this one, it's been a totally 360-degree turnaround for me. Yeah, all day to all night. So I made a choice to do something with my life to different, be able to help the next person. So I'm on the opposite side of the desk now. So each day I come to work with a purpose. My purpose is to shed some light on someone that your life can change. You just got to put forth some effort.
I'm so proud of the clients we serve, like Jane and Abraham, to see somebody that was homeless get into our housing. Someone who was down and out and addicted to alcohol and drugs is now one of our employees. And my hope for AHS is to really continue to grow and expand our crisis services.
No chest pain?
We see so many people. We have really double the volume of any other center in Tennessee. And we really need more space just so that it can be safer and more therapeutic. We don't want to overburden the jails and the emergency rooms, and that's not the correct treatment for someone who needs behavioral health treatment. They need to be in our environment.
We served 15,000 people last year alone, and we think the community deserves a state-of-the-art crisis center that we can all be proud of to help us promote wellness and reduce stigma.
We have incredible staff here, a very dedicated staff. They go above and beyond every day.
I love working with such a dedicated team of professionals, and I love seeing people's lives improve. I mean, we really impact individuals and their families at their lowest point.
To me, the best part of the job, hearing from family or just hearing from the patient how much you help them.
We have clients come in and they feel real low, and when I can say something to them, let them know where I've been, that I've been in the seat that they're sitting in, to me that's giving them a little bit of hope.
Don't quit. Don't give up.
AHS can change your life if you want to change your life.
Absolutely. Support, overcoming, very important. I think it was Colin Powell who said, we can't change the past, but we can change the future. And every day is a chance to do that. So it's admirable for the work that's being done and for those who have overcome the obstacles that they found in their lives. I'm Rudy Williams from ABC 24 CW 30 News. Hey, everybody. Good to be with you today. Now, you guys had poise, beauty, grace, and wit this morning with my colleague, Aaron, but now you got the rough side of the mountain with me this afternoon, so just hang in there with me. I'm gonna hire the cheering section over here. They did so great for Austin. I can contract you in, hopefully. Maybe, maybe not. All right. I'm here to introduce our next speaker, our first speaker for the afternoon. It's Mr. David Claus. Yeah, you guys know him? Well, for nearly 2 years now, David has worked around HIV prevention and care. His primary work is with local syringe service programs, you know, the needle exchange programs that we definitely see around our station over off of Sycamore View very frequently. He's worked in the community with shelters. He's worked with the Shelby County, and throughout Shelby County, the population he primarily serves are people who inject drugs, or people who engage in sex work, or people who are unstably housed, and people living with HIV. My phone wants to do all sorts of things, or things that it wants to do that I don't want it to. You guys know that. His services that he provides include testing, PrEP, PEP navigation, and linkage to care services for those that test positive. Welcome now, you guys know him, Mr. David Claus.
How y'all doing tonight? Today, this afternoon? We'll play with the clicker real quick. How do you work the clicker? They didn't cover that in class. While IT is coming down, so I'm the outreach and linkage to care specialist, or the coordinator with Haven, do HIV and hepatitis C testing out in the field, primarily at needle exchanges. I'm also a student in the School of Public Health here at the University of Memphis. So if there's any instructors out there, I do accept extra credit donations. You know, I've been able to see a lot of good work done out there. Okay, there's a behind the switch. That is. We can select the PowerPoint in the booth, please. There we go. All right, everybody hear me? Yeah. All right, cool. So what I'm going to talk about today is HIV Hep C, of course, but I'm going to talk about my perspective of what I see out there in the field. It's a thing. How many social work students do we have? Any public health students? Any nursing students, pharmacy students, students in general? All right. Textbook, what you're going to learn when you're out in the field and getting personal interactions with people, one-on-one interactions with people, is that people are more than numbers. They're more than statistics you see in that book. They have a story that's behind them. And when you are in the field, you are interviewing people, you're doing risk reduction, whatever you're doing, listen to their story with intent. Listen to what they're going to say in intent. Don't be looking to try to fill out a piece of paper that you have for class or whatever you have to have. Really listen to their story. That's how you get these open conversations with people about what's really going on in the community, what the real myths are. The textbooks are great. You need the textbooks. But there's some cringy stuff in some of these textbooks that you'll be aware of when you're out in the field, and then you go back to class and you're like, that doesn't sit right. That language doesn't sit right with me. I don't like the way that that is worded in that book. Speak up. Speak up about it. Let your instructor know about it. They have a lot of classes they're teaching. They might not even know that language exists in there. Let them know about that and be aware when you're out there in the community. All right, so we're going to talk about some common misconceptions, some myths that you hear that I personally have heard out in the field that I've had to correct. Feel free to add some. I'll ask some people if they've heard any other ones. The number one thing that I hear is like, hey, do you want to get tested today? Oh, no, I know I don't have HIV. I don't mess with anybody, such and such, such and such. I know my partner is fine, right? Clean, you hear that. I know my partner is clean. It's like, well, partner's clean either way, right? Whether that HIV or not, they're clean. But let's talk about like how you know whether or not your partner has HIV. The only way to know is that's the only way to know is to get tested. 1 in 7 people do not know they have HIV. There are no symptoms that just jump out and say HIV. So you have to get tested. And a lot of the symptoms in the later stages, whenever you go without treatment, mimic other things. So you just don't know without being able to go get a test. Tests are very easily done now. Another thing I hear a lot of is like, why get tested? If I have HIV, I'm going to die anyways, right? I'd rather not worry about it. I'd rather not know how I'm going to die. Absolutely not true anymore. Everybody know about antiretroviral therapy. That's a big term. Undetectable equals untransmittable. Anybody heard that before? U equals U? All right, cool. We're going to learn a little bit about that for people that don't know about that. It's very important as far as when we're talking to people about changing behaviors, they have to know that there is a benefit to changing their behavior and that there will be some success if they get into treatment. We'll also hear, oh, I don't need to get tested, I'm straight, right? Right? HIV does not care whether you're straight, or you're homosexual, or you're pansexual. It does not care about your sexual choices, it's behaviors. 2016, 24% of new cases were from HIV positive people. In 2017, 1 in 10 new cases were from people who inject drugs. I think I looked up, I just had to do a paper on it recently. 13% of new cases in 2018 reported injection drug use in the last 5 years. All right, so it's not just the homosexual community that you see that again. Then also you hear like, if I have it, you know, they can't have sex anymore, completely changing their life. That's not true anymore. We're going to talk more about U equals U, undetectable equals untransmittable. The facts: HIV is a virus that affects the body's immune system. It makes you more vulnerable to disease, infections. AIDS, everybody, that's a word we're getting away from, is AIDS. A lot of people have a lot of misconceptions. HIV and AIDS, it's the same thing. AIDS is just late term untreated HIV. It's a number, right? When your CD4 count is below 200, that's when you have AIDS status. We're really getting away from that term. It's stigmatizing. It just causes a lot of confusion when you're out in the community. I have people come up all the time. Like, you want to do an HIV test? No, but do you have any AIDS tests? Like, they just don't know, right? A lot of people don't know that there is a difference or that there's not a difference. The prevention method's the same way. Not every case of HIV results in AIDS. The treatment is fantastic now. It's very effective at what it does. And it's spread through semen, vaginal fluid, blood, and mucus. That's the only way that it can be passed. I've had people out at events. When you're talking to people out in the community, think about sound bites, takeaways, whenever you're talking to people. You got 3 to 5 seconds of attention. What are they going to take away? They're not going to take away everything that you talk to them about. Talking to a person out in the community, when I first started going out to the needle exchange out there on Claybrook, I had a client we were talking to. He was interested in what we had to say. We were talking about HIV. I talked to him about PrEP and PEP. PEP is post-exposure prophylactic. If you get exposed, you got 72 hours to take it to prevent you from getting HIV. He heard that, that stuck in. We also talked about how it's passed, how it's not passed. That did not stick in. He calls me in a panic a couple of days later. He was at a party and drank after someone. He doesn't know who, but he knows somebody there had HIV. He was completely worried that he had gotten it. So we had to have a conversation about that, another re-education piece. So again, when you're out in the community, you're talking to people, even if you talk to them before about HIV or Hep C or whatever risk factors are, talk to them again. So they're going to pick up on something different every time you talk to them. Something else is going to stick with them. It's an education process that we have. 1.1 million people in the United States are currently living with HIV. We're not wanting to end HIV. right? There's people still alive with HIV that are living very normal lives. We won't end new cases. All right, does that make sense? There are about 38,000 new cases a year. That's actually down. It used to be around 50,000 new cases. The introduction of PrEP, the syringe services programs, just the attention we're getting on testing, it has decreased some. We were #1 in the nation for new AIDS cases, #3 in the nation for new HIV cases. When I started, new numbers have come out. We're down to #8 in the nation for new HIV cases here in Shelby County. We're a small city, right? That's very high for a small city. A lot of that has to do with the stigma surrounding testing, the stigma surrounding education about safer sexual practices. In the state of Tennessee, we cannot use the word condom when we're in schools talking to them about prevention methods. We cannot actually say the word condom. So they want it to be left up to the parents to talk to the kids. But I mean, how many of the parents were taught the same thing? How many of the parents don't know how to talk to their kids about practices like that? There's a lot of parents that don't know how to properly put on a condom, how to get tested, where to go for treatment. So just some things that we need to address as a state in general to be able to improve our rates. All right, Hep C. So that's HIV, hepatitis C. Some of the myths that I hear, especially out in the community, is, oh, that's one of those ones you can give to yourself. You cannot give hepatitis C to yourself. It's a virus. All right. A lot of that confusion comes with the terminology used for the doctor's offices. Hepatitis, inflammation of the liver, a lot of things can cause that. They don't hear the hepatitis C part. They hear hepatitis, and they think it's all the same, hepatitis A, B, C. I also hear a lot of, oh, I'll have the vaccine. They have the hepatitis A and B vaccine. So you have to re-educate. So providers make sure that they understand the difference between hepatitis A, B, and C, and make sure that they know that there is no vaccine for hepatitis C. We don't want to fearmonger and tell them that they can give it to themselves either. We don't want to let them believe that, correct that, and talk about ways that they can prevent it in the future. Another one I hear a lot of is, I got rid of it on my own, right? It's possible. It is possible. 1 in 4. It is possible, definitely. I don't know about you, but I haven't hit the Powerball yet. I haven't hit anything in those slot machines. I don't have that type of luck. It's not something to rely on. So we always talk to people about, go ahead and do the reflex test to see if you still actively have it. Go ahead and get into treatment. We have Ms. Laverne here. Ms. Laverne Wade, she does excellent. She's the Hep C navigator here for Shelby County. We refer people to her. She helps them get into treatment. That's who we partner with. We partner with people that do know their job and know how to talk to people about that. Oh, I bleach myself. I don't have to worry about it. That may reduce, but you have to really know what you're doing. You have to really know what you're doing, and it doesn't do a whole lot for hepatitis C. Hepatitis C is sturdy. It can survive. It can survive outside the body for up to 3 weeks outside of the body. Yeah, oh, of course, the vaccines too. I hear that one a lot. I've had the vaccine for hepatitis C. I can't get hepatitis C. Anybody else? Have any of y'all heard of anything else out in the community, or have any myths or something that you want answered about HIV or hepatitis C, how it's passed?
I remember when Manny was diagnosed with hepatitis C way back in the 80s or early 90s. There was this magazine article that came out that said if you eat nothing but bananas and cantaloupe all day, you'll get rid of hepatitis C.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because I almost forgot about another story pertaining to HIV. Yeah, no, that's stuff that, like, we can assume, especially students, that people know about HIV because it's so heavily talked about, or even hepatitis C. These rumors get started in the community and spread like wildfire, and people educate themselves, right? That's why it's important that we have a structured prevention method in the schools, because they don't know. They spread rumors like that. HIV, I was teaching the class. This guy was 23 years old. We were doing the class. We got finished with this class, the same class we're doing here. And after the end of the class, I asked if anybody wanted to do an HIV test. And I was talking to him. He said, oh, I don't need to do a test. I can't get HIV. I'm like, well, what do you mean you can't get it? Well, I smoke weed before I have sex. He was like, and? He's like, well, you can't get HIV if you smoke weed before you have sex. I'm like, why do you think that? He's like, you know how to catch myself. I don't want to be demeaning or anything, but like that, rumors like that get out there and get spread because people have to educate themselves. And a lot of people don't know how to get reliable sources of information. We've seen that with COVID. We've seen with COVID, people having to get on Facebook and research on their own, and that's not the most reliable source of information. So that happens with HIV and Hep C too, absolutely. Yes? From smoking a bomb? Cigarettes? No, I haven't heard of that, but another one that can be passed through is snorting. If you snort and share a straw, it's blood on blood. So like if your lip was bleeding and their lip was bleeding, it's possible. It's blood on blood. But another one people don't know about or think about is the sharing of straws when you're snorting. That is a risk factor that people don't know about. The other one is interferon. There's this huge scare about interferon. I'm sure you've experienced that. People don't want the treatment. They just rather die than get interferon. They don't do interferon anymore. It was a very harsh treatment that made people feel really bad, and they would just rather have that disease than get the treatment. So that's another barrier. That's another thing we have to break down when we're out there educating the community about that. Anything else? Facts about hepatitis C. Hepatitis C is a liver infection caused by a virus. Most people will develop a chronic infection that can lead to liver damage, cancer, cirrhosis, and death. Symptoms that you'll see is yellowing of the skin, fever, loss of appetite, nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, dark colored urine, pale-colored feces, diarrhea, or most common symptom, no symptom at all, right? Same thing HIV, most common symptom is no symptom, right? That's what a lot of infectious diseases are, just no symptom at all. That's why it's important to go ahead and get the test done. And it can take months. It's different for everybody. It can take months for you to have symptoms. It can take a year to have a symptom, or you might not have a symptom whatsoever. Things that'll speed it up, alcohol usage, acetaminophen, those two will speed up, cause you to have flare-ups. We can tell usually within 20 minutes, you come sit down, I can do an antibody test on you and let you know if you've ever had hepatitis C in about 20 minutes. The limitation of that test is if you do get the treatment or you have gotten rid of it on your own, it's still going to show positive because you're going to have antibodies. So that's when we have to have that follow-up conversation about going and going ahead and doing the reflex test and getting into treatment on that. There is a cure. There is a cure for hepatitis C. Not cheap. We do have programs that help pay for it here. There used to be a sobriety requirement. That's another one that we had to kind of break down because it was a requirement for a long time. Is you got to have so much time in sobriety before you get the treatment. They did away with that in March. So, even if they're still actively using, we can get people in treatment for that. Risk behaviors, risk reductions. 1 in 2 people. This is something we don't like to talk about. When I'm doing testing with people, a lot of people, I don't need to do a test, blah, 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 blah. I've never had an STI. 1 in 2 people will get an STI sometime before they turn 25 years old, right? It's very, very common. It's something that we don't talk about. Something we need to talk about more is that it is common, it's treatable. Let's get past it. A lot of people don't think they're at risk for it because a lot of these STIs don't have symptoms. Ways to increase risk are, ways to increase risk: unprotected sex with multiple partners, unprotected sex with people who inject drugs, unprotected sex in general, sharing of syringes, using drugs or alcohol before or during sex, another way that risks are increased. Way you can reduce risk: condom usage, PrEP. Everybody heard of PrEP? Anybody? We're going to talk about PrEP a little bit. Post-exposure prophylactic, mutual monogamous relationships, knowing your partner's HIV status. Those are ways you can reduce risk. People who inject drugs, if you share equipment, you're 22 times more likely than a general population to get HIV. It's a lot higher risk. And not only that, is those behaviors happen more often. There are people that come out to the exchange that inject 10 times a day. I don't know about you, but even if you pump me full of Viagra, I can't go at it 10 times a day, right? So you see that not only is it a higher risk than sexual behavior, but it happens more often than sexual behavior. That's why it's important that the needle exchanges are out here providing unused syringes to people. Ways to reduce risk: finding alternatives to injection, the needle exchange programs. Bleach can lower risk, but it is not recommended as a way. If people don't have a choice, it's better than nothing, but it does not help for hepatitis C. And avoid sharing if at all possible. Condom usage. A lot of this people think are self-explanatory. It is not. It's not self-explanatory. A lot of people, I didn't learn how to put a condom until I was 25 in the back of the car, trying to read the back of the package and stuff like that, right? I mean, that's how most people's experience are. Is they're like in the back of the vehicle, in the dark, scared, worried somebody's going to catch them, and you have mess ups because we don't talk about it. It's stigmatized. Sex is stigmatized. So whenever you get ready to have sex, I just want you to think about Oprah, right? Think about Oprah. It'll help you set the mood. It's also how you remember put on a condom, right? O, open, pinch the top, roll all the way down, right? Action, hold, pull out. Condoms are about 95% effective at preventing HIV. So extremely effective. They are convenient, they're right there. But I don't know if it's on this slide or not. I'm going to talk about it. It's on the next slide. We'll skip over it. But people don't know how to store a condom. doing these classes a lot, I see people, I'm like, here, pull out your condoms, let me make sure everybody has a condom, see what your condoms look like. Where does everybody keep their condom? We go just like this. And they pull out the condom, right? They've been sitting on it, sweating on it. They pull out the condom, had a guy pulling out, and I grabbed the condom, was checking it. It was in the shape of a question mark. It had been in his wallet so long. The lettering had faded on it. I mean, what's going to happen if he puts that on and use it? Snap city, right? It's been kept in hot temperatures to get people keeping them in their vehicles, on the dashboard. Those temperatures, the hot and cold, those will destroy a condom. They are going on the most sensitive part of your body. Treat it like it's going on the most sensitive part of your body, right? Put it in a secure place, room temperature. Make sure you're not putting a lot of pressure on it, rubbing up against it, anything like that. All right, things that can also lube. We have silicone and water-based lube that you use. Another thing people don't understand is oil. Oil will break a condom. So baby oils, lotions, Vaseline, snapping a condom right there. Those will break a condom. Another thing that I hear a lot of it was barrier to usage is I'm allergic to condoms. I'm allergic to latex. There's non-latex condoms. Lambskin does absolutely nothing for STIs or pregnancy, right? They are not made to prevent STIs or pregnancy. That is something I did not learn until I got in this line of work, went to a class. I'm like, why do they even make these, right? They don't protect against anything. That is not an option for STI or pregnancy prevention. You use non-latex. Or what's more common with that is they don't actually have a latex allergy. They're having a reaction to the lube. So you'll have like the him and her pleasures, the spermicide lube, the cooling, warming sensation. Those are irritants. Those are irritants and can cause you to have breakouts, and that's what you're reacting to. So if you do think you have an allergy to a condom, we have multiple brands of condoms. We normally will create a little variety bag that people will have out, try a different brand. The other one is like, well, I can't feel anything. I got news for everybody. Not everyone is a Magnum man. You're not. Not everyone's a Magnum man. You're just not. It's just statistics, right? Not everyone needs a Magnum. If you can't feel anything, you're wearing a Magnum, you're not tricking anybody. You get one that fits, right? You're not impressing anybody pulling out the Magnum. You get one that fits, try a different brand, try a different size, and then see. You know, if I go into Walmart and I go grab a size small t-shirt and put it on, and I'm like, this feels uncomfortable. I'm never gonna wear a shirt again. No, I'm gonna try different sizes. I'm gonna try different brands. It's the same way you treat condoms. It's not all the same. The ones, I like the ones better than any other one. But you know, try different ones, try lube. Lube enhances pleasure. Put lube on yourself, then a condom, then more lube. That'll enhance the pleasure. Sex has got to be pleasurable, and the behaviors still have to be pleasurable in order for people to really do it. Another one, don't reuse. And I know you're like, ooh, reuse. It's like you go to put it on and you put it on upside down, then you flip it, right? You're still, that's not HIV Hep C, but there is other things you can pass that way. Once it touches, it's done, all right? And it needs to look, you see on the picture up here, it needs to look like a sombrero, not a baby bottle when you're looking at it, okay? Make sure you're keeping it stored in cool, dry places, and make sure you're inspecting for tears in the packaging. You get the package, you push, it should feel like a little pillow. It shouldn't crack all the way down. Check the expiration date to do expired. Barriers to condom usage is access. Again, I work with mainly the population that's unsafely housed, sex work population, and people that inject drugs. So, all right, it's easy for me. I have a house, right? I have a bed, I have a pillow to keep condoms and all of that at the table. If someone is staying out in the camp, is it easy for them to keep it in a cool, dry place? No, that's why it's important. Again, we have these community partner agencies like Needle Changes, like LaSue. We have them out there that provide condoms for people every day. People know where they can go get condoms. You have to be in those same locations at the same time to build the trust of the community. You know they can go out there if they need that assistance. The stigma, we talked about that and how to address that. Education on how to wear them properly, it is not self-explanatory. You may have someone who's 35 years old that still doesn't know how to put on a condom properly, and they complain that it feels uncomfortable because they just don't know. So the education piece is important. Make sure you're talking to them about how to properly put it on. PEP and PrEP. PrEP is pre-exposure prophylactic. It is 99% effective in preventing HIV. You get it free here in Memphis because of our high rate. You get it free through a lot of clinics here in Memphis. Take it once a day. It does not protect against other STIs. That is a thing. You do have to go in once every 3 months to get checked for everything else, and we do have free treatment for everything else. PEP is post-exposure prophylactic. It's about 80% effective. It's not something that you rely on, but it's an option. So if you have something happen, you got a 3-day window to start taking that. You can get that free through the corner. You can get that free. You can get a 7-day supply from the hospital, but you got to figure out how to pay the rest of it on your own. So that's why you need to make sure that you're getting the full 28-day supply of it. That's another barrier to usage. If you're homeless, you don't have anywhere to stay, where you want to keep this medicine while you're trying to take it. How are you going to prevent it from getting stolen? How are you going to prevent it from getting lost? How are you going to get back and forth to appointments? And another one for the people that inject drugs, PrEP is only 74% effective for prevention when it comes to sharing syringes. So that conversation should be had. You have to make sure people are open and can talk to you about those behaviors. And the needle exchanges are great because people will have more open conversations out there with you than anywhere else. I would get people to talk to me about their behaviors out there, about what's going on in their life, suicide, all this other stuff going on. And then I send them to a clinic and they can't feel comfortable telling the people there that they inject. So when the people are talking to them, they don't tell them about the 74% because they don't know they're at risk for that. So they go in thinking they're 99% effective. It's only for sexual behaviors. That's not the same efficacy for sharing the syringes. So again, trying to address barriers and some of the stigma that surrounds that, and making people feel comfortable that they can disclose that information to you. Yeah, okay, so I did put that in there. 34% effective. Okay, the cost, it is expensive if you don't have insurance. There are programs that you're paid for PrEP. Most insurance agencies will cover it. Truvada did go generic, which is causing some issues on getting paid for in different areas of the country. We haven't run into much of an issue here yet in Memphis. This stuff is coming down the line. And appointments, you have to go to an appointment every 3 months. So if you don't have food in your stomach, if you don't have a house over your head, if you are struggling to make it day to day, are you worried about going to that appointment? No, we have to meet those needs first. We have to make sure people are fed, make sure they have shelter, make sure they feel safe so they can have the brain space to think about the other things. Ways we address that is we can provide some type of transportation back and forth. We do phone calls with PrEP navigators. We have PrEP navigators over here, PrEP navigators. Okay, that will help set up appointments, appointment reminders, try to address some of those barriers. And there is an injectable version of PrEP now where they don't have to keep the medicine on them. You go take a shot once every 2 months, you come back for your appointment, do it again, and that keeps you protected against HIV. Very effective. PEP is cost prohibitive. Now that is not one that you can necessarily get free in a lot of places. That is one that you do have to pay for. It can cost anywhere from $600 to $1,000 without insurance. The coroner does offer it for free in cases that there has been exposure. There's a lot of places that don't, especially outside of the city of Memphis. We had someone come down for a World Beer Weekend at Graceland, got exposed, knew he got exposed, had already left and went to Illinois. And I was trying to connect him with somebody up there. They would not see him before he had $200 to pay for lab fees. Wouldn't even talk to him. So it is cheaper for him to come back down here and go to the clinic than it was to find a provider there where he can get the PEP. We have to be able to establish trust with people. Ways we're going to be able to try to do that in the future is looking for a mobile unit to meet people where they are. We have to be out in the community where they're comfortable to have these conversations with people. That's how you get more open and honest conversations. And to use person first language. We have to make sure that we are treating people like they're people and talking to them like people first. That goes through the interview process. Whenever you're starting to talk to somebody about what's going on, I see and hear so many times when people come in, it's like, all right, what's your name? What's your date of birth? What's your gender? What year were you born? What's your sexuality? Next, right? What did you gain there? You gain any type of trust, any kind of feedback. So it's more important that you're having open conversations about people about how their day is, what's going on. They look upset today. Tell me more about what's going on. Then they'll get a brief moment of silence where all of a sudden they will start coming out to you about what's going on for them to come get tested with you. You're not going to get that when you first sit down. This person has never met you. They're not going to spill their guts to you and tell you everything that's going on. You got to establish that trust. And doing testing out there at the shelters and in exchanges, it may be the second or third time. I'll have people that come test with me every single week, not because they want to test, because they want to have a conversation. And they'll sit down and have a conversation and opens the doors to other things that we're able to get them into treatment, we'll get them in PrEP, get them in PEP. HIV positive people, will get them linked to care. And it starts with having those conversations with people. Say again? No. Truvada is from male or female. Descovy is only for those born with male genitals. There is an injectable version. You can be either male or female on. And that's just because they haven't had the study information released yet on the scope. Truvada is the one that's going generic though. And so that makes it a little more difficult to try to get paid for. But we can get paid for. Again. You mean like the same demographics being affected by it, or there being like more people dying? Some of the symptoms. Similar symptoms? Yeah. I mean, there's no real symptoms of HIV. What we see is the same people that are affected by HIV are the same people that are affected by COVID minorities. We see there's a lot of medical distrust. But as far as symptoms, no, there was actually my boss had a fight that people were saying, oh, we only have a limited amount of vaccines. Let's not give the people that have HIV those vaccines, they're going to die anyway. Like, no, actually, there's no connection between that. Their immune systems are, if they're under treatment, just as strong as the general population, if not stronger, because of seeing regular care. So we have to fight for that to make sure that they can get vaccines too, because they get written off. That's part of like some of the stigma we got to break down. It's not going to be anymore. Treatment is so good. But
I guess I was thinking about
HCV, Hep-C?
Yeah. Are there any association between
well, you see where Hep-C goes, HIV goes. With COVID, it's affecting minorities, and Hep-C is affecting, I see that more in Hispanic population. That's just the drug resistance type of drug that we choose. You don't see that as high in the African population, at least not yet. But you know, things are changing with COVID and everything. I see it do affect a lot of minorities. HIV and Hep-C are more similar than that. You know, they kind of follow each other. Yeah. And remote stay. Nope. Can somebody click the next slide? There we go. The syringe protection programs, you're exchanging used syringes or unused syringes. It has been proven to reduce HIV and hepatitis C rates. They provide overdose prevention training out there. We do HIV and hepatitis C testing out there as well. We're able to connect people on the spot. I go out to Safe Point on Wednesdays, do linkage to care, and I go up to a Better Way on Fridays. So if someone does test positive, I can get them started on medication usually within 72 hours. 90% of people after 90 days taking medication are undetected. At that level, it is impossible for them to pass it to anyone else. It's just not possible. We haven't had it happen. So the medication is extremely effective as long as we can get them engaged into care. We also provide condoms out there in connection to other treatment options if somebody's interested in treatment options. We talked about testing a little bit. 1 in 7 people living with HIV don't know they have it, so make sure you get tested. Got to get tested at least once a year. If there are risk behaviors, we do encourage at least once every 6 months. Because the sooner we catch it, the easier it is to treat. Testing process usually takes 5 minutes for HIV tests and about 20 minutes for hepatitis C tests. We'll collect demographic information. That is another barrier that we have to go through whenever we're working at the syringe exchange programs. Those are anonymous. HIV testing is confidential in Tennessee. The difference, we have to collect some information. We have to collect name, date of birth, and that can be a barrier to overcome with people. Like a lot of people make up information, so it makes it a little more difficult to connect to care when they make up information. Just done by a little finger stick, we click some blood, give them the results on the spot. Those tests are just as effective as the tests that you see in the hospital. Those tests just won't tell us like how much of the virus you have or what strand of it you have. So that's why we need to get more into having a blood draw to be able to tell more of that with the treatment side of it. If there's a reactive test, we'll do a second confirmatory test and then go ahead and schedule in for treatment options. Again, we can normally get people in within 72 hours to start treatment options. And then I do EIS work. I'll be the one to get you set up for appointments, transportation back and forth, start the housing process, and get your insurance taken care of to get everything paid for. In Memphis is a Ryan White TGA. What that means is we have insurance here that will pay for HIV treatment here. Testing barriers we run into, people don't feel like they're at risk. They think they've been vaccinated for it. There's confusion with the HPV vaccine too. They think the HPV vaccine protects them against HIV. That's another one I've had to address out in the field. HIV criminalization, you see that a lot with people that are engaging in sex work. They know if they test positive, that's a big felony. That's like you have to register as a violent sex offender for life if you get caught. So having to help them find other ways to make a living, to be able to survive, because if they get caught with that, that is a very serious charge. And some people would rather not know and get tested and have that on them, or even engage in care. Because I know once they engage in care, like they are held accountable to it from that point on. I talked about confidential and anonymous. U equals U. Everybody understand what U equals U need means now. Undetectable equals untransmittable. Medicine that you take it daily. And we talked about time. We do have to provide incentives for people to get them sit and do a test because depending on where you're at, some people are more comfortable sitting around than others. A lot of them are ready to get their stuff and get out of there. So trying to make it as easy as possible for them to sit and get their test done. All right, so what do we do if you're positive? If it's positive, we'll schedule you a blood draw. From that point, we're trying to figure out how much of the virus you have, what's your immune system looking like, what kind of service you need. You do a needs assessment. Again, if your housing's not taken care of, your food's not taken care of, you don't have transportation, you're not worried about anything else. So that's part of what we do, early intervention. We have other organizations where we can get them into emergency housing, we get them cell phone, we get them transportation back and forth to appointments, we set up the medical case manager who will work on their insurance, we do their blood draw, and then we get started on medication. They'll walk out of that first appointment with a 30-day supply of medication to get them started. And then I or another early intervention specialist will call once a week to check on their mental health, see what other barriers they need, and then we'll work through that process, getting them down to undetectable, following them at least once a week for the first 30 days and once a month after that, just making sure that we've taken care of everything they do. I'm at on time. All right, so our goal here in the United States is to get 90% of people down to undetectable, 90% of people get tested, and 90% of people get down to virally suppressed. Only way to do that is to know your status, know your risk behaviors, and know how to reduce those risk behaviors. So we answered a couple questions about treatment and barriers and stuff. Anybody have any other questions? Herpes, just about everybody has herpes, of some version of it. Like they don't really track that because so many have it, a version of it, that they don't really try to even test for that when you're going for those STI appointments. You have to be having an outbreak to get it. Yeah. I was in the military and I've lost 60% of my hearing, so I got the last walk up on y'all. Yeah, the question was about herpes. It's so prevalent in the human population. It's considered like part of the biome. Trichomonas is the same way, where they usually won't test for that unless you specifically ask for it or showing symptoms. So herpes, you got to be having an outbreak to test it. So they normally won't even check for that. It's not a reportable, like hepatitis C, HIV are reportable, where you have to collect that information and submit it to the health department so they can track that. But no, not herpes.
You said hepatitis C was transmissible through sex. If we're looking for
Yeah, it can be any blood on blood. There is blood in your semen, a little bit of blood in your semen. Any type of blood on blood can pass hepatitis C. It's not as easily passed sexually. You see it more anal sex or receptive anal sex. Same thing for HIV, it's more receptive anal sex. If you are a top, you're not necessarily at a higher risk for HIV. It's the person that's on the bottom that's at a higher risk, and that's more if they're coming inside. Yeah, it can be. What else?